Hey guys, it's Janet. I have Roger with me with the Golden State Warriors. First question to you. What are your feelings on current events in terms of race relations?
Well, thanks for having me. First off, it's a really exciting opportunity. I think for for where I am, especially being like a black man, it's rough right now. Like we had talked about, it just kind of seems like every week there's something going on. There's some type of tension. There's some type of unfortunately, police brutality. And the one thing that I commend, especially with our league and our players, they're able to um, make it the forefront and kind of talk about it and be more active in it. And they're addressing the situation head on. I think now is a time where we have to take action. We have to have a plan, and we have to really, um, just you can't hide from it anymore. It's just so much going on, and as much as you want to hide from it, and as much as you don't want to face what's going on, it's here, and it's been affecting our communities for a very very long time. So it's about time. Let's get it fixed, and let's move forward.
Speaking of being part of the league, how do you feel about people saying that we need to separate these issues, that sport is sport and current events and race relations is one thing and they shouldn't intermingle? What do you say to those people?
I mean, I don't understand how you can do that. Like, to be honest, it's hard. Like, I can't, even though I'm an athletic trainer, like I can't separate that from being a black male in the United States. Like, that's going to be something that I feel, and that's going to be something that affects me. So I think the idea of separating sport and race relations and politics, it's an idea in general, but it's unrealistic. Like, especially when 90% of your workforce are black men, and most of the people that take and consume your product are people of color. Not just black people, but all types of diversity. So I don't really buy it, to be honest. And yeah, it's just really hard. And I commend our guys. Like I said, like I commend our players. I commend our league. I commend our commissioner, just to being able to talk about it, because it's uncomfortable to talk about. And if you're not fully prepared on how you talk about it, there are things that could be taken a lot of different ways. So yeah, you got to talk about it. Can't hide from it anymore.
Tell me a little bit about your experience growing up in Texas, being a black male.
Texas was an experience. I grew up in the reddest of red states, like I always say. So I grew up in East Texas, Sulphur Springs, a lot of very rural area. My parents moved out there a few years before I was born. At the time, you don't necessarily know or kind of feel all the things that are happening. But I think, as you always see like the Confederate flags everywhere, you see, the monuments everywhere. And, at one point you don't really, you're kind of numb to it. It's like a big microaggression. But then when you kind of start hearing it and you kind of start coming up through school, I know, like, I remember having a very vivid conversation with one of my English teachers. And it was like, why does every book that we read like rooted in slavery? Why is every book that we read rooted in like an unjust time for people that look like me? And there weren't a lot of black kids in my school. Like, I grew up like in the sticks, so there weren't a lot of us. So I guess in trying to find an identity in who you are, I didn't necessarily have a lot of guidance in that. Like, I had my dad, which was great, but it was tough. And just the different stigmas, the different mentalities, and then moving out to the Bay, moving to California, kind of getting a more worldly view of it and seeing the discrepancies and seeing the things that affect our people. Like, it's eye opening for sure, and it definitely makes me go back and look at those experiences and one, be thankful that nothing physical ever happened, that nothing was ever that dangerous, but also understanding that that's not okay. You have to have a more progressive mindset.
You mentioned microaggressions. What type of microaggressions did you experience?
Um, oh, that's 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 a good question. Just little things where it comes down to like sports. Like, I was always in sports, so like when you're the person of color in sports, like it's always that, like, you want to be good at sports and you want to try hard, but then also too, it's like, well, you don't want to be stereotyped into like the black kid that's good at sports. Like, whenever you go to a basketball court, it's like, okay, I'm the only person of color on my team. Well, he's got to be the best player because he's a black guy. Or like going on a track, like I ran track as well in high school and in college. and it became like, well, he's clearly going to be the fastest kid because he's Black. And, you know, some people, they don't, it's like a huge blind spot. They don't really pick it up and they don't really understand it. But, you know, as a young person, that affects you. And if you're not strong enough to handle it and understand it and face it, then it can send you the wrong way.
You talked about a cultural shock moving to the Bay Area. What was the biggest thing that kind of threw you back a little bit?
Diversity, like the Bay. I love the Bay. Just every city within the Bay Area has a lot of different diversity. You see people of all different cultures from all different places of the world. Some places out here have like signs that are in different languages. I never experienced that much diversity, and I don't know if there's any more diverse place in such a small like such a small space. I don't know if you'll see this many cultures. So for me, it was great. Like I just came out here and wanted to explore and, you know, try the different foods, you know, meet different people and try to just live it up.
As a native San Franciscan, I appreciate you saying that so much because no one really understands how amazing the Bay Area is unless you move there from somewhere else.
Yeah, it's great. The 70 and sunny gets a little old after a while. It's like, but to some people, some people, they don't like it. My fiance talks about it all the time. She's like, I want there to be snow. I want the seasons. And it's like, no, I'm okay. I don't like shoveling snow. So.
Or she can come here in Georgia. It was 96 and then it just rained like half an hour ago for about 10 minutes.
Nah, I live that every summer. I'm okay.
All right, mentoring. When was the last time you asked for advice from a mentor?
Last time I asked for advice was when quarantine first started. So like most people, when quarantine starts, you have a lot of downtime and you start thinking about everything under the sun because you have nothing to distract you. So I was at a point within my career, just wanted to kind of get an idea, take real stock in, you know, what I've done through the first part of my career. Being here with the Warriors has been an unbelievable platform, and I've got to experience some unbelievable things, memories that me and my family will have forever. And then just seeing kind of where I wanted to be 5, 10, 15 years from now. So I reached out to a few different people just to kind of get some ideas on what I was thinking, what they had experienced in these situations, when they kind of felt like they were at different turning points. And then, yeah, just kind of get some guidance and say, how did you deal with this phase? You know, I've been lucky and blessed enough to be here for 7 years now. And, you know, I love it. It's great. You know, I just want to make sure that it continues to be good and I continue to make the most out of it.
How did you go about finding your mentors?
So my mentors kind of came through my work experience. So in undergrad, I got the chance to meet Dion Calhoun, which works for the Mavs. He's he's the head athletic trainer now for the Dallas Mavericks. So just trying to like maintain a relationship with him because I always wanted to get into basketball. He's a person of color as well. So he's been great for me. When I went to graduate school, I went down to Baylor University. Kevin Robinson was my supervisor at the time. He was like a second father. You know, he was the guy that was always there, went about his business a different way. Again, another man of color who was navigating, you know, the college level. And he did everything that he could to help me get to where I wanted to go. And then just different people, different academic advisors that I've had, different program directors through all the different schools that I've worked in and worked with, just maintaining those ties and just asking like, hey, what do you think?
So how important has having mentors from a lot of different work settings and geographic locations and building upon your tool chest through the years?
For me, it's good just to get different perspectives. Like I know myself, I get very like zoned in, like locked in and get tunnel vision in a sense. And then especially like being in the NBA, being with our travel schedule, it's like Groundhog Day to an extent, but then there's just so much going on that you have to you get lost in this world. And I think for me, having some people that were in college settings, people that were working different sports, just getting an idea of like, hey, what is your day-to-day like? You know, I ran track when I was in school, and one of my best friends is a sprint coach, and he's kind of, you know, going through the same thing. And it's like, hey, what are you seeing? What are you feeling? You know, how are you going about it? And just seeing how, being able just to compare and know you're not alone in that, but then also to see, okay, what are other ways people are approaching things, and vice versa. Like, think about how I would approach, those situations as well.
So next couple minutes off for you. Roger, your final statement.
Final statement. It's a very, very important time in our country's development. It's a very, very important time in what we're doing, especially for people of color, for people who are open to ideas and understanding. We have to take a second. We have to stop and listen, and then we also have to be people of action. I think it's very, very important that for the election, that people pay attention, people vote, people go out there, get active, and then not just leave it there. Really have a social conscience and really understand that all this stuff is bigger than sports. All this stuff is bigger than our jobs. It's about people. Like, there are people out there that need help, so we need to be out there and do what we can to help those people and push the cause forward.
Roger, thank you so much for doing this, and I'll talk to you soon.
Cool. Sounds great. Thanks, Janet.